30-minute Hasan video. Do I have to suffer through this? Do not buy a house right now. Housing market bubble. Are we giving financial advice?
He was trying to buy a house and couldn't.
Oh, he couldn't? What do you mean he couldn't? Oh,
He
he's only been a
wouldn't
streamer
offer, like-
for probably like
Yeah.
a year or two, so he probably doesn't have the income history to show for it.
He wouldn't pay like 200,000 over asking price in LA. So
Oh, okay, hold on.
Is that apple for sale? Yeah, we're about to put it on sale right now, actually. Well, I'm in the market, so tell me about your apple. Why should I buy it? Nice try. Okay, people, here's how this is gonna work. I have an apple here. The highest bidder's going home with this. I want all bids in the next 2 minutes, then we're closing it. Bidding starts at $5.
Feeling pretty confident there, huh? I mean, don't you think-
$10.
He said starting at 5.
15. Is this a new apple? Yeah, just listed. I'm pre-qualified. I'll pay cash. I got cash. 20. I'll take it for 100.
What? I'm from California. It's the cheapest apple I've ever seen.
120. Why did I do that?
I watched it twice because honestly, it's because it's so real. This is literally my experience. Except, and I briefly talked about this. My experience is even worse than this because I put an offer out for 2 houses with the recommendation of my agent. I put an offer that just straight up was the asking price. Okay, like just straight up the asking price, which is, you know, that's what the apple is, right? $5 is what he's going to sell it for, or $10. And both of those offers came back with counters that were $100,000 above the asking price. But the worst part is there wasn't even any other buyers, dude. Like normally there are other buyers, and that's why you're like, well, the other buyer wants more money, so you know, I like you, so what's good? So that's not even the
Okay, so I guess this is going to be like actually, this is productive because now we can talk, this is like a 4-year-old talking about like housing market, and then I'll explain like what's generally happening, okay? So generally, everything I say, by the way, is generally speaking. Don't do this as financial advice if there are realtors here or whatever. Feel free to chime in. So generally what's happening is let's see if anybody knows, okay? Pop quiz. What do you think is some of the most important determining factor, like one of the most important determining factor in the value of your house? Does anybody know what the actual answer is? Okay, this is kind of a trick question. People are saying location, kind of. Yes, okay. Big Papa Boston got it. It's actually the other comparable houses in your area that are being sold, okay? If people are starting to list houses on the market and those motherfuckers are going for like way over asking or shit like that is happening, then that's going to be like one of the big, that's like, I think if you go on Zillow or other things like that, or when agents are looking to buy or sell houses in an area, they're typically looking at like, well, what do comparable houses in this area go for? That's like a really big determining factor in terms of your housing, in terms of like what the price is going to be listed. If somebody's asking, you know, like 800K for a house, and their neighbors are starting to sell for over that, and you get an offer in like 2 days, I mean, like, you're like, depending, I don't know when these were listed versus when you did the bid, like, yeah, you're probably going to ask for more, right? If everything is starting to be sold for over asking, then you're probably not going to go with your first offer, right? Rather, especially right now, it's a fucking seller's market for homes. You're obviously not going to just jump on your first offer. You're probably going to sit on it for a little bit and see what's going on. So it's not surprising that somebody would counter offer here at all.
asking price. Then these people are crazy
like
because
I've
it's
outpaced
such
them
a ridiculous
intellectually.
position. It
So
doesn't matter
student
what the price is. They're just like, no, I want more. Like you get treated like absolute. And one of the houses literally said, I would not be allowed to renegotiate after an appraisal. As in, the bank comes in to appraise the house to give you a loan on the house because that house is now collateral. And let's say you buy $1 million house and the appraisal comes back and says, well, this is a $500,000 house. What normally you would do in that situation is go back and forth with the other seller and say, well, this house is $500,000. I'm not going to pay that because now I can't even, I'm going to have to put down so much more money because the bank won't cover it. Like the bank is not going to cover the $1 million for the loan because there's not enough collateral. So you have to pay out of pocket. I have to pay $500,000 out of pocket. That's crazy. And these guys were like, no, we don't care that you are not even allowed to renegotiate after the appraisal. If it's lower, then you have to cover the additional on top of the down payment.
All right. Somebody's going to have to explain to me. I don't understand. If you get pre-approved for a certain amount of money, that's the amount you're going to... If you appraise and the house comes in way under value, they're not going to write you a $1 million loan for a lesser asset value house, right? My guess is going to be is that if the asset value changes that much, even if it's for a lesser amount, that probably all has to go back to the underwriter, and then they're going to renegotiate like the terms, the interest, and everything. Yeah, if it gets appraised for half of what you are pre-approved for, it's probably all going to have to be renegotiated. That's going to be my guess on any... there might be some people that cover... Destiny, sellers do cover the difference. Like, would give you cash and for... I don't know what you mean by sellers cover the difference. You'd have to explain it to me. Like, the seller's not going to, like, give you cash because the bank isn't going to let you take out $1 million loan, even if you pay 20%. The bank is not going to give you $800,000 in credit against a $500,000 asset. That's never happening, right?
You have to cover the additional amount out of pocket if the bank won't cover it for you. I want you to understand that this is happening in Los Angeles.
Keep in mind, what I'm talking about right now, this is for a 50% different appraisal. If the appraisal changes a little bit, Like on a $500,000 house, if the appraisal changes by like up or down, maybe $50,000, maybe that's different. But if you've got $1 million house that you get pre-approved for, and then the asset value changes to 500K, my guess is everything is probably going to have to go back to the underwriter. That's my guess. You're going to have to go through a different approval process.
As in, every house that you purchase is already insanely priced regardless.
You are pre-approved for a loan amount. It has nothing to do with the value of the house. Wrong. Webmaster 13. It has everything to do with the value of the house, because what you are pre-approved for is a secured loan, and that loan is secured with a house, with an asset. What it means to have a secured loan, that means that whatever loan you take out, should you default on that loan, there is an underlying asset that secures your liability to the lender. That's what a secured loan means. You're never pre-approved for an amount, and it doesn't matter. Like, I can't get pre-approved for $1 million and then go and buy like a $10,000 house and they give me $1 million. Unless you're saying like they pre-approve you to spend up to $1 million. Well, I don't. Well, maybe they pre-approve you to spend up to $1 million. You can buy any house up to $1 million. I guess maybe there might be some pre-approval process like that, if that's what you mean. Maybe, but I don't know if I don't know if every pre-approval process is the same, and it's probably going to depend on whether or not you're getting like a blanket pre-approval from a bank, which I know some will do, versus if you're getting like approved for a certain house, which some might do. Like all of this is going to vary depending on who your lender is and then what exactly you're getting pre-approved for. Sure. Yeah, because people are like VA loans. I think will give you up to $1 amount, and you can go there as long as it's close. Yeah.
Because you're basically paying for the land, because land is not infinite. This is literally like, this is an insane thing that they're doing. Like this practice, you wouldn't be able to get away with this anywhere else, except we're in an asset bubble. So this is happening all around the country. I'm not alone in this. We are at the precipice of a insane bubble. Like, I don't know when the fuck it's going to burst. If I knew that, obviously I would strategically.
One thing that's really funny is people left and right oftentimes only like to analyze one end of an economic transaction, and then they'll just totally shit on and make fun of the other end of an economic transaction. So for instance, right now, we're seeing a lot of upward pressure on wages as we're not getting a lot of people going back to work, as unemployment gets lower and lower and lower. And now lefties like Hasan are making fun of businesses, saying like, oh, well, looks like you just need to pay more. Well, you're going to have to pay a higher wage, blah, 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 blah. Ignoring the fact that like, well, okay, upward pressure on wages can be negative at some point. Maybe not yet. Maybe it's okay that right now there is some upward pressure and you get people. But like, it's the same thing with the housing thing too. However, now he's looking at it from the buyer side of the housing thing, right? While I'm buying a house, now I'm getting technically, everybody that's looking to sell a house is actually winning big. This is actually really good for homeowners right now that this asset bubble is forming, as long as they're selling houses, because, oh, that's awesome, I'm making a lot of money. So technically, it's really good from a consumer homeowner point of view, because now you can sell a house and make a lot of money. But if you're on the buying side of that, you feel like shit. Kind of like if you're buying labor right now, it feels pretty shitty because there's a lot of upward pressure on labor. But if you're selling labor, like a worker, you're probably doing better than you would be otherwise in an economy with higher unemployment.
Strategically weighted out. But I am getting to a point where I'm just not going to buy a house. Like, it's fucking bullshit. I'm not going to buy a house, I don't think. The hilarity is, like, I'm looking at the area, and the motherfuckers that are doing this are also across the street from other motherfuckers that are selling larger houses for cheaper. I've been to those houses. I don't like the houses, right? And they're selling houses for cheaper, and those houses have been on the market for 30 days and even already have a price reduction. So, like, it's clear that people aren't even buying it, and they're like, no.
This is probably just at the home. I think was it San Diego that I saw recently is like, I think has had like the most increase in housing prices, I think, in the lifetime. Fuck, I haven't been saving stories or whatever. I don't remember San Diego or another thing, but like there have been like, it's like an unbelievable increase in housing prices recently. I want to say I read it was in San Diego recently.
My teammate just tried to buy a house in Santa Barbara that's like a 5-minute walk from the beach.
Mm-hmm.
It was listed for 1.1. It had termites, it had foundation problems, and then like wear and tear. And he was okay with that because he was gonna fix it up and flip it. And he offered 45 over asking price, and he got turned down immediately, and the house sold for 250 over asking price right now.
San Diego home prices up nearly 20% in 1 year. And apparently it's the second fastest growing market in the nation right now. But yeah, all the housing prices right now are up insane amounts.
No, I will not sell it. I will not sell it. Like, why are you doing this? The house itself is a depreciating asset. The land, on the other hand, is an appreciating asset, especially when you're purchasing land in like fucking Los Angeles in like a
I don't know what weird Georgian take that is, but okay.
Really good area of Los Angeles. Now, part of that is because big companies are straight up, like hedge funds are straight up purchasing as many houses as they fucking can.
Okay. Maybe we'll do this. Oh, actually, I guess because we're gonna do kind of research here, we can go look that up.
so that they can turn around and start renting it to people. So they can
Why wasn't that right? Wait, why wasn't what right? Hold on.
depreciating asset.
Oh, I don't think a house is considered a depreciating asset. I mean, it requires some level of maintenance, but like if you're not just paying for the land when you buy a house. You can go to like a suburb or whatever and buy a house, and you're not just paying for land. You are paying for the asset. I don't think houses necessarily depreciate, but
The land, on the other hand, is an appreciating asset, especially when you're purchasing land in like fucking Los Angeles in like a really good.
hold on. Do you think your house value goes up if building supplies are going up, even though your house is already built? Do you think your house value goes up? So a lot of people are saying rising lumber costs are the reason why housing prices are going up.
Sourced event direct gift data user Pisca 95 tier :1 tier label tier gift ebook smarts.
But I think that's backwards. I think that lumber prices are going up because there's a huge housing boom right now. I don't think that it's like, oh my God, lumber is higher. Now all the houses are more expensive. It's more like, oh my God, so many people are buying and building houses that now lumber is starting to get driven up in price as well.
Good area of Los Angeles. Now, part of that is because big companies are straight up, like hedge funds are straight up purchasing as many houses as they fucking can so that they can turn around and start renting it to people so they can become landlords, which ironically creates a system where buying a house is unaffordable for most average Joes. So they are stuck renting forever. So it is a problem.
God, there's nothing wrong. Hold on.
Scott Bradley, $9.99. I don't understand people's obsession with wanting to live in California. Like, I understand the business opportunity aspect of it, but why not just live in a less expensive area or build a house?
Because then you have to commute 2 hours to work.
That basically creates another opportunity for these hedge funds to make more money as a consequence of that. Not only are
I don't know. Okay, so this is something we can literally just look up. So why are housing prices rising? So my understanding is that right now you're starting to get record numbers of people moving as the economy comes back online. You've also had like fucking historic low interest rates. So if we look at like the federal funds rate over time, I'm pretty sure it's been at near zero for like fucking 10 fucking years now. Hasn't it been? Like, yeah. Oh, and then it's back at fucking zero again, is it? Like, it's just been so ungodly fucking low. Like, this looks high up here. The high point here is 2.5%. You're just like, interest rates have just been so fucking low for so long. But I mean, we can Google, like, why are houses so expensive? The upward trend in home prices has continued in recent years. According to a study by Redfin, home prices increased by almost 15% over the last year alone. The reason houses are so expensive right now is simply the result of supply and demand. After the start of the COVID-19 pandemic, interest rates were lowered to help stimulate the economy. The decline in interest rates, coupled with the fact that many Americans wanted to leave apartments in cities in favor of larger living spaces and lower prices, caused an increase in demand. On the other hand, the political and economic uncertainty caused many sellers to retreat from the market. This has resulted in more buyers and sellers and a dramatic increase in overall housing prices. We can do CNBC. With COVID encouraging city dwellers to move to the suburbs and families looking for homes and bigger yards, prices for the American dream home have skyrocketed. Home prices surged in March, up 13.2% from the year prior, according to the S&P CoreLogic Case-Shiller National Home Price Index. This situation feels a lot different from 2008. Nothing is like 2008. Anybody that compares it to 2008 is a dumb fuck. It's not even close. Everybody expected housing to really sort of dry up with the rest of the economy, said National Association of Home Builders CEO Jerry Howard. And in fact, the opposite has happened. People who've been sort of scared out of the cities by the pandemic, with homeowners unwilling to sell, a record low supply of homes for sale has forced buyers into intense bidding wars. At the end of April, there were only 1.16 million houses for sale in the U.S., down 20.5% from the year before. Higher costs for land, labor, and building materials, including lumber, have also impacted home builders, with a 30-year fixed mortgage rate hovering near a 50-year low and strong demand pushing prices to all-time highs. Why is the housing price supply so meager? Watch the video to find out if the U.S. is running out of houses. The pandemic ignited a housing boom. Okay, the residential real estate market is on its biggest tear. This is dated March 15th. March, April, May. So this is 2 months old even. I think I'm thinking, yeah, Bloomberg or Wall Street Journal. Residential real estate market is on its, this is 2 months dated, by the way. Biggest tear since 2006, just before the housing bubble burst instead of a global recession, yet in nearly every meaningful way, today's market is the inverse of the previous boom. Anthony Lamacchia, a broker and owner of a real estate company near Boston, entered the industry in 2004. Homeowners were trading up to bigger, more expensive houses after barely a year, he said. Many buyers paid small down payments or none at all. When housing prices stopped rising, the market collapsed. By 2009, Mr. Lamacchia was working with clients desperate to dump the homes he had just helped them buy. Now, he said, housing demand in the Boston suburbs is stronger than he has ever seen. Lamacchia Realty reached $1 billion in sales last year for the first time. Buyers have higher credit ratings these days. They are flusher and are putting down more cash up front. Remember, over the pandemic, one of the hallmarks was how much money American households saved because of a decrease of spending, because of the closure of so many services, and because of so many people staying and working from home. They are flusher and putting down more cash up front. On $1 million purchases, people are putting down $500,000, he said. You didn't see that before. In 2020, sales of previously owned U.S. homes surged to their highest level in 14 years, and many economists forecast sales to rise again this year. In the mid-2000s, loose mortgage lending standards enabled borrowers with poor credit histories to purchase homes beyond their means, sometimes with mortgages that required low blah, 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 blah. The current housing boom is far more stable than the last one and poses fewer systemic risks, economists say. A downside, there are more barriers to entry. It's more difficult for buyers who aren't already homeowners to make that first purchase. Most real estate analysts agree that the pandemic helped ignite the current boom, as some urbanites looked to leave crowded cities like New York and San Francisco for cheaper cities or for more space in the suburbs while working from home. When lockdowns began lifting last year, home sales took off. June sales surged nearly 21% over the prior month, the biggest monthly increase on record going back to 1968. That milestone lasted only a month when July sales rose almost 25% from June. COVID has catalyzed a rethinking of where we live and why we live there and where we work and how we work, said Rich Barton, chief executive of online real estate company Zillow Group, Inc. Market watchers also say that a number of long-term trends are at play that should keep the housing market hot, or at least steady, even after COVID-19 related demand fades. Millennials, the largest living adult generation, continue to age into their prime home buying years and plunk down savings for homes. At the same time, the market is critically undersupplied. New home construction hasn't kept up with household demand, and homeowners are holding onto their houses for longer. Buyers are competing fiercely for a limited number of homes. Mortgage lenders, meanwhile, are maintaining tight standards. Buyers are drawn to the market by historically low interest rates, not by easy access to credit. Remember, back in the days of 2007, it was a rush to the bottom to sell a home to whoever the fuck you could, because if you were a bank, you didn't have to hold on to those mortgages. You sold those down the street to somebody else that was looking to package that up into more exotic packages, right? So the standards are a lot different now. Instead of having these like Nina loans, these no income, no asset verified loans, now you're getting like more people have better credit, more money down, right? It's not the same shit. Rising home values also mean that even if homeowners can't afford their mortgage payments, they can likely sell their homes for a profit rather than face foreclosure. Financial firms are still packaging mortgages as securities, but the vast majority of those mortgages today have government backing. The biggest winners in today's booms are people who already own homes who gained a collective $1.5 trillion in equity in 2020 from a year earlier. Keep in mind that this is one of the big divides between white people and black people in the United States. White families tend to be more homeowners than black families. In 2007, 2008, when a lot of houses were foreclosed on, a disproportionate amount of those were foreclosed on black families. They never really recovered that wealth. The divide grows. White families gain big by owning homes here and being able to sell them. Black families get fucked because they tend to not own homes versus white people. According to CoreLogic. They have also saved money by refinancing their mortgages at record low rates. Many have started renovation projects or bought vacation homes. Real estate brokers, home builders, and mortgage lenders are also riding the wave. The S&P Home Builders Select Industry Index is up 96% over the past year, outpacing the S&P 500's 59% gain. Between July and December, 8 of the 30 largest U.S. mortgage lenders announced plans to go public. Those trying to break into the market for the first time have rarely found it more difficult. The U.S. house price has soared 10.8% in the fourth quarter from a year earlier on a seasonally adjusted basis, the biggest annual increase in data going back to 1992, according to the Federal Housing Finance Agency. The median home purchase price climbed above $300,000 last year for the first time. Nearly 1 in 4 home buyers between April and June bought houses priced at $500,000 or more. Less expensive homes became harder to find. Sales of homes priced at $250,000 and below declined in 2020 from a year earlier, according to NAR. First-time home buyers are struggling to afford down payments. For many renters who lost jobs in 2020, home ownership is even further out of reach. Housing has become a luxury good, said Glenn Kelman, chief executive of real estate brokerage Redfin Corp. The economy seems to have officially split in two. There are so much hardship in one part, and then there's just an absolute mad dash to buy houses in the other part. So remember, during the coronavirus pandemic, there was a huge gulf between people that were able to work from home and people that ended up losing their jobs that just because the economy couldn't bear it. For people that ended up maintaining their jobs and being able to work from home, these people, when you combine the fact that they worked from home, spent less on services, oftentimes got pay increases from their job for the coronavirus, didn't have to spend any money commuting, and then also combined with the fact that there was just a big decrease in spending because so many services were closed. So people had to like buy groceries and stuff like that, and they weren't going out all the time. These people are considered huge winners. Combine that with the fact that there was a decent chunk of stimulus. There were 2 rounds of stimulus checks, plus like CARES, HEROES Act, other things as well. Unemployment insurance that was boosted. There was a lot of money that went into the hands of the average American worker that was able to work from home. So there was a very lower working class that kind of got a little bit over the coronavirus stuff, but a lot of Americans, a huge chunk, made out very, 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 very well. Something to keep in mind. So there's a lot of money floating out there. Many economists expect mortgages to continue creeping upward this year. However, if you were poor and you did get and you weren't able to work from home, the unemployment insurance plus the stimulus helped, but you didn't make off as good as like those middle class workers, especially the ones that could maintain their job. Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell said this month the central bank will maintain ultra-low interest rates until its employment and inflation goals have been met, which he said were still a long way away. So inflation hasn't happened, employment is still high. Basic macro econ theory says that the Fed should keep the interest rates low, right? Now, it's obviously their decision is going to be more complicated than that, but largely the Federal Reserve is looking at, I believe it's unemployment and inflation. If inflation is high, interest rates need to drop. If inflation is low, if inflation is high, interest rates need to go up, restrict the money supply and everything. If if the inflation is low, then the interest rates can go lower as well, increase money supply, right? I think, right? Yeah. If unemployment gets high, they want to be more lax on the interest rates. If unemployment gets much lower, then they can increase the interest rates. Right? Something like that. Yeah. Okay. Some of the home sales in the past year were likely sales that would have happened in the next few years, but were accelerated due to COVID-19. Real estate agents, Real estate agents say that could augur a slight slowdown in demand going forward. Some people who are currently working from home are also likely waiting for their companies to decide on future remote work policies. They might opt to stay put if they are required to commute to the office daily in the future. Economists also caution that the shortage of homes on the market could limit the number of sales this year. Spring is typically the busiest season for home sales as families aim to move before the start of a new school year. The housing markets in New York City and San Francisco, 2 of the country's priciest areas, slumped last year as some residents moved away and the pace of people moving into those cities slowed. New York City home prices in January fell 3.1% from a year earlier. According to listings website Street Easiest Price Index, in San Francisco, the median sale price in January declined 1.9% from a year earlier, according to Redfin. For now, the pandemic looks likely to keep housing demand strong. In Sacramento, California, an influx of buyers from the San Francisco Bay Area helped push up the median sales price 21.3% in January from a year earlier, according to the California Association of Realtors. That buying interest helped Rachel Voss, an attorney, upgrade her living situation and remain in the city she has called home since 2003. Ms. Voss sold her home in November for $409,000, nearly $155,000 more than what she paid for it in 2008. Her new house, a 3-bedroom south of downtown, has twice the space of the old one, and she bought it with a lower interest rate. Firms lending on all these home purchases are thriving. One of those is run by Rick Arviello, chief executive of the Orange County, California-based mortgage lender New American Funding. During the previous housing boom, he wondered if he was blowing a big opportunity. Competitors were getting rich making subprime mortgages, and he considered getting into the business. His wife and co-founder, Patty Arviello, refused. Business slowed during the housing crash, and the Arviellos didn't take a paycheck from mid-2007 until early 2009, but their higher underwriting standards during the boom helped them survive. In 2020, lenders had more demand than they could handle. Homeowners rushed to refinance at lower interest rates, and buyers flocked to the market. Mortgage originations rose to a record high in the fourth quarter, according to the Federal Reserve Bank of New York. About 7 out of every 10 of those mortgages went to borrowers with higher credit scores above 760. Geez. The refinance market has slowed in recent weeks as mortgage rates have ticked higher, so Mr. Arviello said his business is pivoting to focus more on home purchases, especially for millennials and minority buyers. That's where you are going to see a lot of growth, he said. Unlike in the building boom of the mid-2000s, a deficit of homes for sale is playing a big role in the current spike in prices. New home construction hasn't kept up with demand in recent years as builders took years to recover from the financial crisis and faced shortages of land and skilled labor. Those shortages and rising material costs continue to hinder builders as they increase production. While housing starts rose in 2020, new home construction per U.S. households in December was still more than 20% below its average level in the late 1990s, according to Jordan Rappaport, a senior economist at the Federal Reserve Bank of Kansas City. Home buying demand is so high that many builders are limiting the number of homes they sell at a time to ensure they don't sell more than they can build. They are also raising prices. The median new home sales price was $346,400 in January, up 5.3% from a year earlier. The hottest market I've ever seen, says Sean Chandler, president of the Central Texas division at home builder Chesmer Homes. The buyers that come in are like, I just want a home. I don't care at this point what it costs. Some economists say a decline in demand would be welcome as a way to slow house price growth. Even with borrowing rates near 3% for a 30-year fixed-rate mortgage, much of the benefit to buyers is offset by rising home prices. In the fourth quarter, the typical monthly mortgage payment ticked upwards to $1,040 from $1,020 a year earlier. NAR said, even though mortgage rates declined nearly a full percentage point. Let's see if we can find, if we search specifically for hedge funds do hedge funds buy houses, or do they just invest in like REITs? Is there like hedge fund specific? I guess you could, right? Because a hedge fund could theoretically invest in anything. Where's Proteus at? He would know the answer to this. A real estate investment group invests in real estate by buying, selling, financing properties. Okay, an REIG. I guess you could call that, that's like a type of hedge fund, right? This is from the Wall Street Journal, January, February, March, April. So this is just like a month and a half ago. Bidding war broke out this winter at a new subdivision north of Houston, but the prize this time was the entire subdivision, not just a single suburban house. Illustrating the rise of big investors, a potent new force in the U.S. housing market, Dr. Horton Inc. built 124 houses in Conroe, Texas, rented them out, and then put the whole community, Amber Pines and Foster's Ridge, on the block. A who's who of investors and home rental firms flocked to the December sale. Bidding war broke out this winter at a new subdivision north of Houston, but the price time was an entire subdivision, not just a single suburban house. Illustrating the rise of big investors as a potent new force in the U.S. housing market. Dr. Horton Inc. built 124 houses in Conroe, Texas, rented them out, and then put the whole community, Amber Pines at Foster Ridge, on... Oh, I need to get this first. Foster Ridge on the block. A who's who of investors and home rental firms flocked to the December sale. The winning $32 million bid came from an online property investing firm, Fundrise LLC, which manages more than $1 billion on behalf of about 150,000 individuals. Manages more than $1 billion on behalf of 100. Okay, so this is a fund that manages that money on behalf of investors. The country's most prolific home builder booked roughly twice what it typically makes selling houses to the middle class, an encouraging debut in the business of selling entire neighborhoods to investors. We certainly wouldn't expect every single family community we sell to sell at a 50% gross margin. The builder's finance chief, Bill Wheat, said at a recent investor conference, from individuals with smartphones and a few $1,000s to pensions and private equity firms with billions, yield-chasing investors are snapping up single-family houses to rent or flip. They are competing for houses with ordinary Americans who are armed with the cheapest mortgage financing ever and driving up home prices. You now have permanent capital competing with a young couple trying to buy a house, said John Burns, who's eponymous? How do you pronounce this word? Real estate consulting firm. Hold on. Eponymous. Real estate consulting firm estimates that in many of the nation's top markets, roughly 1 in every 5 houses sold is bought by someone who never moves in. That's going to make U.S. housing permanently more expensive. The consulting firm found Houston to be a favorite haunt of investors who have lately... Hold on, I'm muting all these while I read articles. The consulting firm found Houston to be a favorite haunt of investors who have lately accounted for 24% of home purchases there. Investors' slice of the housing market grows as it does in other boomtowns such as Miami, Phoenix, and Las Vegas among properties priced below $300,000 and in decent school districts. Limited housing supply, low rates, a global reach for yield, and what we're calling the institutionalization of real estate and investors has set the stage for another speculative, investor-driven home price bubble, the firm concluded. The bubble has room to grow before it bursts, according to John Burns Real Estate Consulting, but it is inflating fast. The firm expects home prices to climb 12% this year on top of last year's 11% rise and increase at least 6% in 2022, a period of appreciation reminiscent of 2004 and 2005. The boom was different, fueled by loose lending that enabled individuals to speculate on home prices by racking up mortgages they could repay only if home prices kept climbing. The money party ended a few years later when home prices stopped rising. The ensuing crash wiped out $11 trillion in U.S. household wealth and brought the global financial system to the brink of collapse. Financiers stepped in starting in 2011 and gobbled up foreclosed homes at steep discounts. They dispatched buyers to courthouse auctions with duffel bags of cash. Smartphones and tablet computers, new then, enabled them to orchestrate the land grab and manage tens of thousands of far-flung properties thereafter. They dominated the market for a few years, accounting for about a third of sales in some markets and setting a floor for falling prices. There wasn't much competition competition. Stung by losses, banks made it harder for regular home buyers to get a mortgage. Millions of Americans were underwater, owing more on their mortgages than their homes were worth and unable to move. Home rental firms, including Invitation Homes, Inc. and American Homes for Rent, thrived. Renting suburban homes proved so profitable that landlords hit the open market and added properties at full price once foreclosures dried up. Many now build houses explicitly to rent. The coronavirus pandemic sparked a race for home office space and yards. Occupancy rates reached records and rents are rising with home prices. The ecosystem of companies that service, finance, and mimic the mega landlords is booming. Burns counted more than 200 companies and investment firms in the house hunt. Computer-assisted flipper, Open Door Technologies, Inc., that's their ticker. Money managers including JP Morgan Asset Management and BlackRock Inc., platforms such as Fundrise and Roofstock that buy and arrange for the management of rentals on behalf of individuals, and builder LGI Homes, which now reports wholesale home sales to bulk buyers in its quarterly results. Spring brought a fresh stampede of buyers. PCCP LLC, which typically invests in apartment buildings and office towers, said it bought rental home communities in the Southeast at the start of a $1 billion pact with CalSTRS, California's $286.9 billion teachers retirement system. Homebuilders Lender Corp announced a rental, these are buyers. Madison Realty Capital moved into rentals with clients Madison Realty Capital moved into rentals with clients that used to focus on developing apartment buildings and owner-occupied subdivisions. On Thursday, it closed a $110 million loan on a project in Los Angeles where 220 of the nearly 700 home sites are being sold to investors. The original plans, derailed by the housing crash, didn't envision any rentals. A lot of things that would have been for sale housing are going to be for rent housing, said Josh Zegan, Madison's managing principal. Bruce McNeilish began building houses to rent out around Nashville, Tennessee in 2005. After the housing crash, his Kinlock partners expanded into other southeastern markets, flipping occupied rentals to bigger investors. Kinlock was financed mostly by community banks in the cities, where it rehabbed foreclosures and built rentals. These days, Kinlock can borrow far more from Walker & Dunlop Inc., a commercial real estate lender forging into suburban rentals. Mr. McNeilish's problem is that others are bidding up houses and lots. I am boxed out. He said there's too many people chasing things and they're willing to overpay. It's silly money right now. I wonder if the percentage of people that own homes, home ownership percentage historically has fallen. Destiny, what's your alternative hypothesis? Doesn't it make sense that the rich, be it firms and funds or individuals, would invest in real estate in bulk if they catch wind of any supply bottleneck / potential ROI? Well, theoretically, a supply bottleneck could drive the cost or the price of something up past what it's actually worth. So you would expect that the smarter money would probably sit out there if it's all going to crash soon, right? But I mean, like, there's a lot of other variables there. It just depends. It just depends. There's a lot that could happen there. I'm curious if, like, the percentage of Americans that own homes has, like, increased or decreased substantially lately. Oh, okay. So the home ownership rate for the United States has stayed between, like, 63 and 69%. It has been, like, fairly constant. Okay, so this hasn't changed that much. I think that there are reasons for home prices rising right now. I don't think it's just because, like, people are buying up houses, is all I'm trying to say. Sorry, that was a really long tangent. But it's not just hedge funds. That's silly. There's a lot of other shit going on in the world right now than just evil hedge funds buying houses.
House in a bubble. The whole market is in a bubble when it comes down to. It's going to be catastrophic. Trust me, I've been watching this for a long time now. I think confidence is going to shift the moment that there is even a subtle hint of interest rates increasing. And it's going to come. Well, there's two things that are going to happen. When the mortgage moratorium ends, the bubble's going to burst. That's one, obviously, because it's going to automatically unlock a bunch of foreclosed homes. And then also, because inflation is occurring right now, because lumber prices are so fucking expensive, because new developments have halted as a consequence of COVID for so long, and also because people have a lot of money, like the middle class and upper middle class specifically, were able to hold on to a lot of their wealth and actually accumulate a lot more capital now. So they have some money to be able to purchase a house. Like, they finally put a lot of money together. So there's a lot of people buying houses right now, which is, like, boosting the fuck out of the prices. House price increase 4 times faster than income. What does it mean for future borrowers? What does it mean? Maybe it means the Federal Reserve's ZIRP and QE quantitative easing policies have made houses unaffordable for most people except hedge fund managers, foreign money launderers, desperate, well-off yield seekers, Blackstone, and overpaid Fed staffers.
Wait, what does it mean? What is he reading? Home prices increased 4 times faster than income. What does it mean for future borrowers? What does it mean? Maybe it means the Federal Reserve's ZIRP and QE policies made houses unaffordable for most people except hedge fund managers, foreign money launderers, desperate well-off yield seekers, Blackstone, over. So we would have to see, like, less and less people. There's a lot to consider here, right? So Home prices increased 4 times faster than income. What does it mean for future borrowers? There are different people that win and lose in this transaction. It's not just bad for people buying homes. If the value of your asset, if you own a home and your home price is increasing faster and faster and faster versus your income, well then of course that's good for you, right? That's fine. That's okay. You want that. Also, I'm curious, this Freddie Mac single family, whatever this account is, Freddie Mac single family, I don't know what this, but like I'm curious what the time horizon they were looking at too, because it wouldn't surprise me if income hasn't really grown. If income didn't grow at all during the past 2 years because of the coronavirus and home prices are, well, then of course you're going to see like a dramatic outstrip there. I wonder what the time horizon is on that. Destiny, and those tweets are from 2019. I'm sorry. These are 2019 tweets. True. Oh, geez. So yeah, I wonder what the time horizon is here. I'm curious. Rather than protecting communities and making it easier for homeowners to restructure bad mortgages or repair their credit after succumbing to predatory loans, the government facilitated the transfer of wealth from people to private equity firms. Rather than I'd be curious to talk. I wonder what this means. Rather than protecting communities and making it easy for homeowners to restructure bad mortgages. I wonder what a bad mortgage is. Or I wonder what this article is writing about. I wonder if they're writing about the fallout of 2008, even though these tweets are from 2019. Oh, and now his reply here is from 2020. What a weird Twitter thread.
Rather than protecting communities and making it easy for homeowners to restructure bad mortgages or repair their credit after succumbing to predatory loans, the government facilitated the transfer of wealth from people to private equity firms. Sickening. Yeah, so that now Blackstone could just fucking suck up everything, dude. You're a big guy, build your house. Yeah, I'm gonna build my house with my hands. That's how it works. Anyway, this is of course not innovation. This is just capitalist predators artificially inflating the price so they can end up making more money and making it harder for people to fucking purchase homes, making it so that the
depending on how you want to view it, every single price increase and decrease is artificial. Like it's really weird to say that. Like there are legitimately like a lot of people that are trying to buy houses in other areas, and there is legitimately like pretty low supply of houses on the market right now, which is why people are investing so much in building more, which is why like the cost of lumber is such a big deal. I don't think that's artificial. Like the home price to income ratio for the US and the UK. Why does this show the US and the UK? Or is one the US and one the UK? Oh, this is US. Okay. Oh, so this is over 70 years. The home price to median income ratio. Whoops. Okay, so it has definitely grown in the past couple of years, but not home price to median household income. So it's not like crazy out of whack, I don't think. Although it's definitely exploding here, but how do people just ignore the sellers that are winning out? My GF's family just sold their house to down, because oftentimes when it comes to economic transactions, people will only analyze the single side that they're interested in, and they totally fucking ignore everything else. Which is also sad, because like I said earlier, one of the important things in realizing about how a lot of sellers are winning is you have to look at who's not selling. So like I said earlier, like the black families that got really fucked after 2007, 2008 that lost their homes are no longer part of that winning selling group, which is really sad. But if we only look at like one side of an economic transaction, then you miss a lot of the good and bad. Unfortunately, it's pretty dumb, but
American dream of buying a single family home is even more of a dream. I don't know when this is going to happen, but I suspect that the end to quantitative easing will probably destroy market confidence after so many fucking years, and it'll be a stopgap measure to control inflation. So that's where that will be the better opportunity to strike while the iron is hot. Stop being a WeHo snob. This situation does not exclusively exist in Los Angeles. Please stop saying this is an exclusive Los Angeles problem. You're literally a fucking idiot. You are the reason why your Tennessee neighborhood is also getting brutalized, because people in LA are noticing that it's Tennessee.
damn, I wonder how this compares to the entire country. I wonder if 2012 was still really far down from the 2007-2008 collapse. I wonder how far this went up and down. I'm really curious. Tennessee, can we look this up? Market overview, Zillow. Max, it only goes back to 2012, fuck. I don't know what California looks like. Jesus Christ. I wonder. Oh yeah, I'm curious if this was like dipping low still from the 2000. It was a little bit. Gotcha. But this is like none of this. This housing price index is probably not adjusted for inflation, right? Or would it be? Says you, Destiny. Good one.
Neighborhood is also getting brutalized because people in LA are noticing that it's significantly more affordable to work from home and live in a state like Tennessee. So they move to Nashville or they move to fucking Texas, and then it fucks up your Texas market, your Texas housing market. That is literally a problem all around the country right now. It might sound cool when your dad makes, $100,000 above asking price on his fucking house, but it's not going to be so great when he can't find another house to purchase. And that's the reality. When people are leaving California, they're not leaving California because of taxes. That's a lie. It's poor people leaving California because they can't afford to live in California, so they fucking go somewhere else. They simply cannot afford to rent or even purchase a home. 1 of 15. It's been hard to convey through anecdotes or data how bizarre.
Which is fine. It's okay if people are priced out of markets, by the way. There's nothing bad about that. Like, again, not everybody can live in every area, and not everybody can consume the same type of every single good. Like, some people will be priced out of some markets, and that's fine. That's just like not everybody can buy the exact same thing, especially when it comes to land. Like, not everybody can live in the same area. Like, it's okay if some people are priced out of some areas. Like, that's
the U.S. housing market has become. For example, a Bethesda, Maryland home buyer working with Redfin included in her written offer a pledge to name her firstborn child after the seller. She lost. This stuff is like kind of stupid, but even on the money side, it's just like idiotic. 2 out of 5. There are now more realtors than listings. Inventory is down 30%, 37% year over year to a record low. The typical home sells in 17 days, another record low. Home prices are up a record amount, 24% year over year to a record high. And still, homes sell on average for 1.7% higher than the asking price, another record. But in 2 of America's largest cities, inventory has increased. In New York by 28%, in San Francisco by 77%. San Francisco hasn't had an inventory increase this large since 2008. And still, in both markets, prices are increasing.
Oh, so this was part of the article that we read earlier, because we see that people are leaving those 2 markets and they're moving into other areas, right?
In 2020, new construction permits were down 13% in DC and New York, 40% in LA, 48% in Chicago, 50% in Seattle. Permits were up 25% in Miami, 56% in Vegas, 96% in Greenville, 122% in Detroit, and 246% in Knoxville. Lumber prices are up 300%. We talked about this earlier. I briefly mentioned it. In Redfin's annual survey of nearly 2,000 homebuyers, 63% reported having bid on a home they hadn't seen in person. This is the fucking CEO of Redfin. Like, he's doing marketing for Redfin, but he has access to data that is, pretty solid. In an April survey of 600 Redfin.com users who had relocated in the past year, about 2/3 of the people who moved got a house the same size or bigger. But about the same proportion, 2/3 spent the same or less on housing. Even though most of the people who moved got a bigger home, 78% reported having the same or more disposable income after their move. Idaho home prices could triple and still seem affordable to a Californian. For low tax states, 4 people move in for every 1 who leaves. For Texas, the ratio is 5-1. For Florida, it's 7-1. Now, the reason why people are moving to low tax state is not because they're fucking low taxes, but those states also have more conveniently priced homes, which is weird why the CEO of Redfin.
Would it necessarily be bad if people were priced out of an entire state? Yeah, that'd probably be bad, but nobody is priced out of an entire state. There is no state in the U.S. like that right now.
State is not because they're fucking low tax. 1 who leaves. For Texas, the ratio is 5-1. For Florida, it's 7-1. Now, the reason why people are moving to low tax state is not because they're fucking low taxes, but those states also have more conveniently priced homes, which is weird why the CEO of Redfin is refusing to acknowledge that. Cities and states have no leverage to raise taxes after many promised new money for social justice. The federal government will have to fund long-term investments. Wonder how.
Cities and states have no leverage to raise taxes after many promised new money for social justice. The federal government will have to fund long-term investments. This is kind of true. I think we listened to Noah and that one guy. It was kind of a boring talk, but people don't seem to make decisions as much as we like to pretend they do based on taxes. People will talk about taxes, but at the end of the day, it's highly unlikely that somebody is like choosing a new job or choosing a new place to live or doing something like this because like the like marginal tax rates are a bit higher or lower from one state to another. That just doesn't really seem to be the case. That might be the case with like a niche of society. So maybe like business owners or maybe people like me who can work anywhere in the US. But for the average person, like there's not going to be like a big consideration for state tax rates. It's just not a thing.
odd that the CEO of Redfin is not mentioning the real reason why people are moving into those states. This migration to lower cost areas, interesting. He does acknowledge it in the second tweet. Is it the taxes that make it a low cost area? Or you think it's the property, the average price for a fucking home or rental property is the reason why it's a lower cost area? Or the cost of living in general is lower in those areas? No, it must be the taxes. It may lead to lower workforce participation. For many families, Redfin is relocated. The money saved on housing costs lets one parent from stopping from working. A waiver of Redfin customers are, this is just a fucking hashtag ad for Redfin. Lenders are calling employers to confirm that the home buyer will have permission to work remotely when the pandemic ends. Like, you know why this is indecent? Because like motherfuckers that are finally able to afford a home because they have like an amount of capital that they've accrued over the course of the fucking pandemic are so fucked when basically they're not able to refinance, when basically they realize that the investment property that they purchased and now that they're stuck with is not going to hold its value, especially if they fucking bought it in some random area that is not slated to appreciate to the goddamn moon like you would in certain parts of California, like in fucking Los Angeles. And then they're fucked. And even if they are able to refinance,
It's just so funny when all the analysis is ideologically driven. It's just there's just so much weird stuff going on. So right now he's saying it's really fucked because now if you buy a house, you're going to get fucked, and all the people that buying these houses are holding on to them, and now they're bag holders essentially for property. So now they're fucked. But just earlier he was saying you've got a whole bunch of these evil hedge funds that are running around buying houses, and they're like making like mad bank because they're buying. Well, like so are the hedge funds also getting fucked because they're running around buying all the houses, or is it just the consumers are getting fucked even though the hedge funds are buying the same houses, or like what? Or like I don't understand. Or is he making an argument unintentionally here in favor of renting? Would you be better off renting right now and then waiting for housing prices to come down in the future? Or I wonder what the prescription is here. I'm like really curious.
Financed at that point, the interest rates are going to be higher. So no matter what their refinance works, now they have a property that's value is lower that you're absolutely stuck with. That is the bubble. That's the secondary problem here. The average housing budget for out-of-towners moving to Nashville was $720,000, 50% higher than locals. Yeah.
This might sound dumb, but if low-income people can't afford to live in LA or major cities, is there ultimately a market for minimum wage workers there? I don't know what that is supposed to look like. I don't know how that works because I don't think you can build like low-cost housing and force like only poor people to live there. I don't know if you're capable of doing that. Are you able to do that? Like, oh, like here's low-cost housing, because it seems like if low-cost housing was available in Western Hollywood or like LA or something, then like, wouldn't just a bunch of like middle class or wealthy people just move? They'd be like, oh, fuck it. I don't know how you do that. Yeah, I don't know.
Keep talking about like, Hasan, why don't you move out of California? I'm doing you a fucking favor staying here, bitch. Look at this. Average housing budget for out-of-towners moving to Nashville is $720,000, 50% higher than the locals' $485,000 budget. It used to be coastal elites who worried that every adult in the family had to win a career lottery just to afford a home. Now that feeling may spread. It's not just income that's K-shaped, but mobility. 90% of people earning $100,000 per year expect to be able to work virtually, compared to 10% of those earning $40,000 or less per year. The folks who need low-cost housing the most have the least flexibility to move. An investor recently said, with an ancient touch of awe, but also greed, that one source of America's miraculous economic recovery was the bounty of the land itself. Not dissimilar to what Israel's doing. The wholesale genocide of indigenous populations and resettling American colonialists into those lands. But yes, the endless expansion and the endless amount of land, or seemingly endless amount of land in the United States of America, was a part of America's wealth and prosperity. We have more room to grow than we ever imagined. We just have to make sure that benefits everyone. By the way, Throwbro is correct. If you're purchasing a house as an investment, you can still build way more wealth by renting and putting more towards investments. This is what my fucking financial analyst friends constantly yell at me about. They'll always be like, dude, just reinvest it into your business. Like, what the fuck are you doing? Just keep renting and reinvest into your business. And it's like, I try to explain to them, like, dog, the overhead for what I do is relatively low. And that kind of growth, if I sought out...
You don't have to reinvest into a business. You can just reinvest into markets as well, right? The S&P 500 is growing a ton. If you are investing the extra money that you would have spent otherwise, like on a down payment, like, I mean, 1 year in the S&P 500, like our gains over the past year have been almost 40%. I haven't checked like the year to year, like January 1st, but like Jesus. But yeah.
To like grow this business.
You can do income-based rent/subsidized housing. E.g. rent is to keep a founder of low income. Sure, Dev, but like you would have to price those really. You need a lot of pricing discrimination there to make it work, right?
By like hiring employees and shit like that. That kind of growth would still not solve the one significant problem I have, and that is time. Time is finite. I do not have more time to be able to tackle on additional parts of a potential growing business. I'm still so mad that like I lost the dream house that I literally found. It was like the second house I went to, and it was my dream house. It was still, of course.
This is like such a no. I mean, like this. I'm not like trying to make fun of me, but like this is like such a like first time home owner buyer person talking. Like it was my dream house. Like it was perfect and everything I needed. It's like wow. How long did you spend? Like it's like well, it was the second one I went to, and it's like there was probably more houses out there, but.
Expensive, obviously above like what the market rate would be for something like that, but it was affordable in comparison to like all these other fucking places I've seen, and I lost it, and it fucking sucks. I was gonna have a pool, boys. This thing was on. Let me tell you something. This fucking house was.
The funny thing is that whoever her son lost that house to, is like guaranteed that like entity probably makes way less money than he did. If he wanted the house, he should have just fucking bought it. Like he's in a position to do it. Like he could have just offered more. What the fuck? I wonder who owned it before too. It's really funny too. It's funny to imagine like a possibility here, and I don't know, but like there is a good chance. I think that like factoring in everything, there's like a higher than 50% chance that one, the person that he's offering to buy the house from, he has a higher income than, and two, the person that outbid him on the house, he also probably has a higher income than. So it's like a rich guy coming into a neighborhood and complaining to like a poorer homeowner that they won't sell him a house, but instead they sold it to somebody else that's also poorer. Like, just offer more, bro. You got the money, Jesus.
Literally on the market for 53 days. It was on the market for 53 days. I step into it and I go, oh fuck, this is it. I just felt something where I was like, this is it. Like I feel like at home here. Like I can see myself living here for a while. Yeah, it had a hot tub and a pool. No hot tub streams for you guys. Anyway, I guess I'm gonna say this. So let's talk about California residential real estate. Did you know it's bonkers? Like just completely bananas. Let's look at some examples. I live in Los Angeles, but also pay close attention to what's happening in the Bay Area and the desert. Lots of folks still buying in the Bay Area and lots of folks decamping to the desert. All of these markets are completely absurd. This one's fun. Are you sitting down? Yes, it's lovely. Oh my God, it's so lovely. Sold for 78% over asking. It was listed at $1 million. It's over 2.12. A 3-bedroom, 3-bathroom in fucking Mount Washington. It's actually kind of cool though. Maybe with the above house, you're like, but Sally, it's just so lovely. That doesn't matter. Look at this 3
Wait. Oh God. Wait, what? I live in LA, but also pay close attention to what's happening in the Bay Area and the desert. Lots of folks still buying in the Bay Area and lots of folks decamping to the desert. All these markets are completely absurd.
But also pay close attention to what's happening.
Okay, first of all, you're looking at like, when you say these markets are absurd, you're looking at the nicest fucking houses that you can find, okay? I'm sorry, but like there are not, you don't have to get a house in California that's like a fucking like a woodland mansion in the middle of fucking nowhere. Like, Jesus Christ.
Happening in the Bay Area and the desert. Lots of folks still buying in the Bay Area and lots of folks decamping to the desert. All of these markets are completely absurd. This one's fun. Are you sitting down? Yes, it's lovely. Oh my God, it's so lovely. Sold for 78% over asking. It was listed at $1 million. It's over 2.12. A 3-bedroom, 3-bathroom in fucking Mount Washington. It's actually kind of cool though.
Like, Jesus.
Maybe with the above house, you're like, but Sally, it's just so lovely. That doesn't matter. Look at this 3-bed, 2-bath in West LA. It's a normal house, just a cute little ranch guy. Listed for 1.299 million and sold for 148. This is the most normal thing. Dude, this house, dude. Look at this fucking house. That was sold for 1.
That's a lot of land for California. Damn. What does West LA count? Is that like a city, or are we just talking about like anything near the beach? I don't know if like West LA is like, it might be. I don't know. West Los Angeles. Is this west of LA? So east of Santa Monica. Okay. Damn. Yeah. Well, these are like isn't this like some of the nicer it's like North Omaha? Really? The Santa Monica area is considered very nice. You're near the Getty. Is this like really shit? Wait, Century City is like right the fuck here. Are you saying that the area between Santa Monica and Beverly Hills is garbage? Is this it could be I could be wrong. I just don't know. Westwood is up here, is where people live. Is this considered a Junco area? No, I don't mean it's shit like Northern. I mean, it's a different city technically. Oh. I mean, like, yeah, any place in here is probably going to be hella fucking expensive, I would imagine.
$1.48 million. Doesn't matter if the home is spectacular or average. Like, it is actually nice, though. I love those fucking beams. The exposed, like, roof. It's very nice. It doesn't matter if the home is spectacular or average, if it's in a desirable area or not. Homes are selling for hundreds of thousands over the list. There's a 2-bedroom in Berkeley, less than 1,000 square feet, and just sold for $1.377 million. This 1,126 square foot home in Bernal Heights in San Francisco just sold for $400,000 above list. Originally listed for 1.195, and after a bidding war, the sale was 1.6. So when that house gets sold for it's so ugly. When this house gets sold for $1.6 million, all of the other houses in that fucking street are all of a sudden, boom, their market value just went up. Now the problem is, an appraiser can just look at that and be like, well, this is not worth that. So then what you end up doing is kicking the can down the line to a level where like one person is ultimately gonna get caught holding the bag. It's literally like an infinite fucking appreciation, an infinite artificial appreciation of value here. And you don't want to be the motherfucker holding the bag, especially if you don't have a tremendous cash flow and can justify.
I wonder what artificial inflation means. What does that mean?
By overpaying by hundreds of thousands of dollars for a house which's value will not greatly improve over the course of the 30 years that you're fucking paying it off. Sorry, but the list price doesn't matter. Portland's median sale price is up 16.8% year over year, and 64.9% of the homes sell above listed price. That's crazy. There are no rules right now. Comps are useless, and people are throwing money at literal piles of brick. It's a free-for-all. People are fucking buying teardowns for millions of dollars in Los Angeles, depending on what neighborhood you're in. A teardown, for the record, for those of you who don't know, is like a very old house that you purchase just for the land it sits on, and then you blow it up and then rebuild one of those ugly ass boxes that, like, you know, the FaZe clan lives in. Comps, for the record, competitive prices. Like, you're comparing, not competitive prices, like you're comparing other houses in their neighborhood and what they sold for. The amount of information you can find on houses is fucking insane. Yeah, comparable sales. The hardest part to accept when trying to figure out what the hell's going on is there's no reasoning. It's not just because realtors are purposely undervaluing homes to entice a bidding war, and it's not because inventory is historically low. It's for several dozen reasons. Or they're putting an offer on a shitty unrenovated condo for an astronomical 470.
Wait, is it not? Okay. Is there like an easy thing that we can Google to look at housing inventory? Because I think 3 of the last articles we just read said that the housing inventory right now for sale is pretty low. Is there like an index or something? Can we search for like houses available for sale historically U.S.? Does that St. Louis Fed housing inventory estimate total housing? I think you need this as a percentage of people like buying, right, or something, don't you? Because technically, the stock is always going to grow as the population of the country grows, right? Or no, you would need to see this as a proportion of, it would be listed stock versus people buying? Or would it be total population? What would you be looking at here to see if there's... monthly supply of houses in the United States? What is this number? Am I supposed to just know what the number on the left is? Is this in hundreds of thousands? Units. The month's supply. Are there 4 houses available? It says underneath. It says month's supply seasonally adjusted. The month's supply is the ratio of houses for sale to houses sold. Oh, I see. Okay. This statistic provides an indication of the size of the for sale inventory in relation to the number of houses currently being sold. Gotcha. I understand. So here, there's a fuck ton of houses. So there's 12 houses for sale for every 1 house sold. So here, so we are at pretty low stock here, just as we were in like 2000, 2005.
75K is in a bad area. There were 200 plus offers within 48 hours. What the fuck? It was all sold cash, no contingencies, 50K over asking. That's what happened basically to me as well. With no offers, which is even worse than that story, actually. 200 plus offers is psychopathic. I don't know how the fuck that happened. But the 2 houses I put fucking offers on didn't even have other offers. So the fucking seller's agent was like, what I'm going to end up doing is wait it out because I suspect that there's going to be other buyers that will come in and purchase this house. List is.
But it sounded like that's what happened. It's just very annoying to know that like Hasan is so fucked that he couldn't fuck a dude out of a house that he probably makes like fucking 10 times as much money of. What the fuck? Jeez, damn. This is cold, ice cold.
Important because it's what you get pre-qualified for from a bank. You're approved for up to 1.5 million, so you're going to go looking for homes under 1.5 million. But all those homes end up selling for 1.75, and it's horrible for buyers. Yeah, you literally are looking at like, you find your dream home, you get pre-approved for $1.5 million. You don't have another $250,000 to make up the difference. And all the houses are getting sold for above asking price. So what are you going to do? In 2000, the difference between now and 2008 is in 2008, people had taken on loans they couldn't afford because lenders were being lazy. Now the buyer, lazy, that's one way to say predatory. Now the buyer pool is extremely prepared with an 800 plus credit score, 500K cash down for the down payment, excellent job stability in lucrative industries. Yeah, except it doesn't fucking matter because
Wait, hold on. Monthly supply of houses per capita. Click edit chart. Monthly supply of houses in the United States per population. This shows quite a different story. So we're at like one of the lowest points in housing history in terms of availability of housing, assuming you didn't like invent this graph, because I don't know how to find this on the site.
It's going to burst, and then they're fucked. They're caught holding the bag. Nailed it. High earners save a lot in the past 15 months and only care about how much the monthly mortgage will be. The actual final sale price isn't a huge factor.
Have you ever been in love?
I don't think so.
Do you want me to describe it to you?
Shopping for a new single-family home in the U.S. is arguably harder than ever before.
There's a bidding war for literally every home on the market, every fixer-upper, every house that needs even a lot of work.
My neighbors, actually, because we were on vacation, were calling me and texting me saying, like, what is going on at your house? There's people in a line down the block. We saw 2 people having a fight.
With city dwellers emigrating to the suburbs and families looking for home offices and bigger yards, prices for the American dream home have skyrocketed. Home prices surged in March 2021, up 13% from the year prior, according to the S&P Case-Shiller Index.
Everybody expected housing to really sort of dry up with the rest of the economy, and in fact, the opposite has happened.
We know that home.
Why? Okay, I might be crazy, and I fully admit that I could just like have gotten like lucky, I guess, completely in saying this. Where is everybody in stream like a year ago, okay? Or a year and a half ago even. I feel like I said, not a year and a half ago, but a year ago. I feel like I said that like once the coronavirus starts to end, like shit is gonna boom like unbelievably because there's just gonna be a fuck ton of money out there that couldn't do anything for a long time that was gonna start to chase everything. I feel like that was like a pretty obvious like conclusion to everything. It's not like people would just stay like broke and all the money would sit in people's banks. Like it feels like as soon as shit starts to pick up again, like everybody wants to get in like on the foothold. I feel like that was like a pretty obvious thing that was gonna happen, but maybe not. I could have been right for the complete wrong reasons or for reasons that I don't understand or whatever.
Ownership is the primary way of getting into the middle class, but unfortunately,
yeah, that's a good question, Teddy. So what is Hasan's prescription here? Force sellers to sell at lower prices? That's the real question. Is so what is he saying should change here? What needs to happen that's different? I wonder what is the, like, should he have been able to bully that seller to say that you have to sell me this house at a lower price because I demand it? Or
there are many impediments to that are divided by class and particularly race.
With a 30-year fixed mortgage rate hovering near a 50-year low and a strong demand pushing prices to all-time highs, why is the housing supply so meager? Is the U.S. running out of houses?
The housing shortage conversation is kind of bullshit, and here's why. There are so many vacant fucking properties, dude.
So, vacant houses U.S. My understanding is if somebody can link me like a, fuck, I need another, is it the S-Fed? I feel like it hasn't really changed much throughout the history of like vacant housing. St. Louis Federal Reserve. Fuck, is it S-Fred? Why do I always fuck this up? Is it just Fred.St. Louis? Max. Fuck, this only goes back like 10 years. Really? My understanding is that the vacant housing stuff hasn't really changed that much historically. It's not like there are like these like tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands. Because I used to believe a long time ago that like, oh my God, there's so many vacant houses being bought by large funds and just being sat on so that they appreciate in value. But I don't actually think that's the case. I had somebody email me, a real estate guy email me a long time ago, and he was linking me a bunch of information. Like actually, like the amount of vacant houses has been like about the same. Like it doesn't really change that much. Oh shit, there might be a bad economics thread on this. Okay, we can read all this. Some on the left and right, it's a problem across the political spectrum, use the existence of vacant housing as justification for opposing building more homes. This is unfortunately a frequent occurrence whether you're a socialist politician in SF or a random Twitter person, but for the post, I'll focus on yesterday's semi-viral tweet from TYT producer Anna Kasparian. America is short of homes is a strange focus when foreign capital and private equity funds are snatching up all available housing for their portfolios. I'm sick of hearing about the shortages of housing as homes owned by people who don't even live in the US sit empty. Here is the rule one, the reasons why using vacancies as a justification for not building more homes is wrong. Most vacancies aren't where people want to live. As seen in this map constructed from the US Census data, the highest vacancy rates are in low demand places, primarily rural areas with few good job opportunities. On the other hand, you can see that the lowest vacancy rates are in the high demand areas in the West Coast and the Northeast. So these are vacant housing units. So if we look to areas up here like New York, or areas like here in California, ironically, I don't know, my geography is really bad, but it looks like the lowest vacancy areas are centered around like where the big cities are. So I'm guessing that this is like, fuck, which one is Dallas and Austin or whatever, and Houston and shit in Texas. I see Omaha over here is pretty low. Most of the Northeast is pretty low. Miami, is that, do you think this county is Miami here? Or is Miami more south? Telling someone who works in the Bay Area that there's an abandoned home in Detroit or Lubbock, that they can move into isn't a solution. Vacancies are not all the same. According to census data, half of vacancies in a housing-constrained city like LA are market vacancies, which are the inevitable gaps in tenancy that occur when a lease is ended, a home goes on the market to be resold, or a new building opens and hasn't yet leased or sold all of its units. Unless you think it's possible for a new house to be 100% sold the day it is built, and that each tenant that moves out is instantly replaced by one who moves in, these vacancies are to be expected. I've heard this concept explained in terms of frictional housing, that there's some friction between buying and selling. For the rest of vacancies, non-market vacancies, there is a wide range of reasons, including renovations, foreclosures, and condemned properties. The number of homes that are intentionally left vacant due to market speculation is quite low, and it makes sense. The way that landlords make money is by renting out homes, so keeping them vacant means foregone income. Higher vacancy rates equal downwards pressure on rents. Landlords love low vacancy rates because it gives them more market power. This makes sense. Landlords have a monopoly on existing housing, and the last thing they want is to face more competition. But don't take my word for it. Here's Blackstone, a massive private equity firm, admitting in their annual report that that high vacancy rates reduce their profit margins. This could be seen in data from SF during the pandemic as vacancy rates skyrocketed and rents fell significantly. I even personally experienced this firsthand during the pandemic. Our upstairs neighbors left and our landlord had to lower the rent to find a new tenant. Oh, this actually happened to me. I think my rent fell by like $50 a month. It was whatever, but I got a letter in my thing saying that my rent fell. Cool. We used the new lower rent for the upstairs unit, along with the wide range of cheaper apartments on the market as leverage, and received a 10% rent reduction. A vacancy rate of 0 is not a good thing. Housing is like a sliding puzzle. 0 vacancies would prevent people from moving anywhere. Imagine a world with no housing vacancies. Like, actually try to envision it. The only way you could move is by finding someone else to swap houses with. Immigration? Forget about it. Want your kids to move out of the house? Sorry, you're out of luck. Our country is growing. We should try to welcome all of those who want to live here. Furthermore, many marginalized communities view left-leaning cities like San Francisco as a mecca where they can escape persecution. We shouldn't let a lack of homes shut people out and prevent them from living where they want. And what's the worst thing that happens if we end up building too many homes? Landlords will be tripping over each other to lower rent and compete for tenants. Sounds pretty good to me. Vacancy taxes can be somewhat effective, but they're far from a silver bullet. Vancouver actually implemented a vacancy tax in 2017, and it went okay. The tax was 1% of the property value for each year, in which the property was left unoccupied a majority of the time. The next year, the number of vacancies fell from 1,085 to 922. Yes, it was a significant 15% drop, but it was also only 163 homes that were returned to the market. More data can be found on page 14 here. In Vancouver, a city with 310,000 homes and a severe housing shortage, 163 homes is great, but pales in comparison to the tens of thousands of homes that are needed. Furthermore, the tax rate is about 20 to 35 million each year, enough to subsidize 100 affordable homes. Ironically, the benefits from a vacancy tax, more homes on the market, including more affordable homes, could be achieved at far greater scale by simply legalizing more housing. So yes, there are plenty of left yimbys who support vacancy taxes. I'm one of them, but we can't let it distract us from the broader housing shortage. Rather, vacancy taxes are at best a small-scale incremental tweak around the edges for an issue that requires big, bold solutions. While I think vacancy trutherism is the most pervasive left NIMBY myth, I read a long medium effort post making the affirmative case for YIMBYism from a progressive perspective that you may find interesting if you've made it through this post. Okay. So there's not like a ton of like vacant housings driving up prices. That's not really true.
Why is the housing supply so meager? Is the U.S. running out of houses?
The housing shortage conversation is kind of bullshit, and here's why. There are so many vacant fucking properties, dude. There are so many vacant properties that are just simply being held onto because of how expensive the land is. That's what it is. It's easier to just like sit on a fucking vacant home and...
So we can see that this article title here, there are over 17 million vacant homes in America. However, where are these homes located, right? They're not, these aren't like, there's not 17 million vacant homes in LA or San Francisco or New York, right? Or any like top 10, top 20 city, right? These are all like in kind of rural areas or just like a ton of random areas where people don't want to live, right? Like, oh my God, like you're homeless in LA? Well, there's tons of vacant housing in Montana. Go move, right?
Onto because of how expensive the land is. That's what it is. It's easier to just like sit on a fucking vacant home, and there's not enough punitive measures, not enough regulation to make it so that it is unsustainable to just sit on a fucking property, which it should be, but that will never change because it's so valuable for gigantic banks to just fucking buy out as much as they can and just sit on it that, you know, why the fuck shouldn't people do that? What is the progressive socialist solution? I already told.
Is there, can somebody show me the median price for a house, year over year? Does anybody have... So the argument that I would be curious... So I would make this argument with no data, and then we'd have to look up data. So what I would posit is that I don't know if it would be profitable to invest money buying a house, paying the property taxes, paying whatever the upkeep is for that property, but not enjoying the cash flow from renting it to somebody as the house just sits there. It feels like any other investment in the market would be superior to that. I could be wrong. I wonder, what would I have to look up to see that? Like, this would be a pretty complicated and local number, I think. So I guess, so if I'm being generous, we go to 2010, where we're sitting at 223,000. And in 2021, we get to 347,000. That is an increase of what to what? No, even just like look, even with napkin math in my head, there's no way that's worthwhile. No possible way. If I would have invest $223,000 into the market in 2010, if I invest X money into market, what would it be worth? There's got to be a way to find this out. Investment calculator. if I invested 22290 with nothing else, and our rate of return is, we'll say 8%, and we'll give it 11 years to grow, it would go to $520,000. And this also doesn't include that you're not just buying an asset and sitting on it. You'd have to pay property taxes, and you'd have to deal with property upkeep as well. No way. No way do people just buy houses and sit on them. You need to have a renter in there to generate the cash flow to make it worth it, I think. There might be some exceptions to this rule, but I would be shocked if that was, like, in general doable. If you could make money just buying a house, sitting on it, not generating cash flow by renting it to someone. I don't think so.
Told you. The actual, like...
property upkeep isn't really there if nobody's using the house, I guess. Oh, my friend, there is always property upkeep, no matter what the fuck is happening. You might have growth underneath the house that threatens the foundation that needs to be kept on. You're going to have a yard that's going to need to be worked on. There's going to be, like, city regulations that will require you to mow it. You might have trees that need work. If they grow too much, you need to get the branches trimmed. You're going to have wear and tear on the house due to things like weather. So, like, your siding and your roof is going to need to be replaced at regular intervals. If you live in an area with snow, you're going to have to, like, shovel driveways. There's always upkeep. There's always upkeep that's going to be involved in houses. You know, if hail breaks a window, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You know, you might need to renovate the inside. You know, certain types of piping, plumbing, insulation might only last for so many years. Air conditioner heating units are going to last for so long. If you own a house in a place where the temperature goes below freezing, you're going to have to pay constantly to heat the house so that the pipes don't freeze in the winter. There's always going to be maintenance. Yeah. And then stuff just goes wrong even outside of the normal wear and tear. So. Okay.
Social democratic / if you want socialist solution beyond, like, anarcho-communism or Marxist-Leninists historically and the takes that they've had on housing is literally making it unaffordable to be a landlord, making it rather not even be a landlord, but making it unaffordable to sit on fucking vacant properties, and then making it unaffordable to purchase multiple properties and sit on them or rent them.
So the example that bad economics post gave is that they tried that. They gave, like, that 1% tax in San Francisco, but the reality is that there probably just aren't that many vacant properties in areas that are in, like, super ultra high demand areas. I wonder if I can find out. So, like, vacant properties in Los Angeles. How many vacant properties are there? This is land for sale. How many vacant homes in LA? There are 93,500 housing units vacant in LA in 2017. Number of households in LA in 2017. I wonder if this is, like, the whole LA area or... So this is saying that there's about 1.4 million households. And man, I hope these are comparing the same area. And it's not like this is like, oh, because this is LA County. Wait. Oh, fuck, I'm going to get irritated trying to compare this because I need to make sure they're using like numbers. So, but I mean, yeah, fuck. Maybe we can look. But, like, it doesn't seem like there's that many. I'm not really looking at good data for this. Vacant. I recently bought my first house. Perhaps I could provide perspective for why I think buying such buildings is better than renting. No, that's okay. Vacancy report. How Los Angeles leaves homes empty and people unhoused. Apply the penalty to rental unit vacancies. Jesus.
them out. But the immediate solution is making it so that it's impossible to just like fucking sit there and wait for this thing to accrue value. That's how you would do it. How do you do that? Empty home taxes? I mean, there are always going to be loopholes beyond that too, though. For example, one of the ways that you can avoid that is by like repurposing the land to something that is more tax beneficial. Then simultaneously, while you're doing that, you need to fuck the market up on purpose by forcibly creating or forcibly buying out and rezoning certain areas to have affordable housing, or rather public housing. That's how you're supposed to do it.
According to experts, a few key steps homebuyers can take to navigate the ultra-competitive market include getting pre-approved for a mortgage, finding a good real estate agent, and figuring out exactly how much you're willing to spend. An additional option first-time homebuyers have is to rent the home back to the seller while they look for their new home.
My best advice at this time is if you don't want to overspend, go into a house knowing that you're going to do a little work, and you'll probably get it for a better price. And honestly, you can turn it into your dream home.
Dude, that's fucking crazy, dude. Yeah, just go buy a house that's already fucking expensive, and then on top of that, literally pay to renovate it. Such a good fucking example, man. What if they don't have capital, dog? What the fuck? Yeah, just go buy a fixer-upper, dude. Yeah, because everyone has like enough money to just like rent out.
I mean, like, this is just standard. This same homeowning advice would apply even in down markets. Like buying fixer-uppers is always going to be like, if I'm putting a house on the market, if I've got a house with 50 grand, or I'm sorry, if I've got a house with 500 grand and I put a $50,000 roof on it, the value of the house isn't going to go from 500,000 to like 550,000, right? Like, it's like you buy stuff and you put work into it. Like, that's just kind of standard, right? Like, that's not
another apartment while their house is being worked on and shit. You know what I mean?
The U.S. has a housing shortage. With potential sellers unwilling to show their homes during the pandemic, in April 2021, there were 1.16 million U.S. homes for sale, down 20.5% from a year earlier. That lack of inventory has helped push the median price of existing homes higher, up a little over 19% from the previous year to a historic $341,600. One key factor in that price jump is with fewer, less expensive homes on the market. Sales at the higher end accounted for
that's so interesting. Wonder why.
Much of the activity. During that same period, homes were selling in record time.
It's like rich people are just like swapping fucking expensive houses amongst themselves. You know what I mean? Like they're the only ones who have fucking money to just engage in this sort of behavior. They're just like, here, you take my fucking $70 million mansion. No, you take my $15 million mansion. Okay, here you go.
I'm two, typically just 17 days on the market. While several large publicly traded companies like NVR, Lennar, Beazer Homes, and Hovnanian Enterprises construct single-family homes, townhouses, and condos, the vast majority of new construction in the U.S. is done by small businesses.
Home building is one of the last real vestiges of small business in America. The overwhelming number of housing, and I want to say it's close to 75 or 80%, is built by small businesses, mostly family-owned.
Public housing is fine, but without a private market as well, who get the beachfront beautiful house, or is everyone just assigned to live in some bleak standard house with basic utilities? I'm sure you don't want.
Wait. Why isn't it a 1-to-1 increase in value for home renovations? I don't know. That's just how it is. It's like, because somebody's already putting in the work for it. It's like you're paying for the convenience. Like, it's just shit like that. Like, if I go to buy a house and I'm offering, like 400,000, and I tell the person like, oh, like I want you to do this work and this work and this work, and like they're not going to get a 1-to-1 increase on price for like the money that they sink into it. Or at least I've never heard that before my entire life. No, actually, hold on. I'm sorry. Let me back that up. I'm confident enough to assert that and just be true. And I know people that build homes and shit. And you can talk to people that do real estate or build homes. Like, if you can put like $50,000 into your home, you're not going to be able to list it for $50,000 more. The only people that make money doing that are the people that are able to do the work themselves, because now they're being paid for their work. So like, if I was a roofer, I might buy the materials and put on a new roof and sell it. But I'm not going to pay somebody else to put on a new roof and then sell that for more money than what I spent on the new roof. Right? That's just not going to happen. Unless like the price of the house in general is going up and up and up and up and up.
Want that for yourself, right? We need to both. Dude, I didn't even say, why is the fucking inception of public housing, like why is the mention of public housing immediately triggering some fucking synapses, like firing some synapses in your brain that leads you to believe like, oh, if the government is making houses, that means the government is making all houses. That means the government is assigning all houses by party loyalty. You know, if you're part of the party apparatus, that means that you get to have good real estate. If not, you have bad real estate. All of a sudden, we are a jailing landlord. What the fuck is going on? Why am I speaking like this? Suka bliat. Also, live in some bleak standard house with basic utilities and massive privilege self-report. Like literally, most people have no fucking access to living in some bleak standard house with basic utilities. So I'm pretty sure if you asked the overwhelming majority of people, like actually not in America, but
yeah, I was gonna say, wait, most people in America are not living in bleak substandard houses, but
because even in America, even the poorest of the poor is just like, nah, dog, like I don't want that, because then I can be a millionaire one day and I'm not gonna have that fucking nice house. You know, maybe not in this community, but in most communities, motherfuckers be like, oh, I don't want that kind of fucking shit, because one day I'm gonna be a millionaire and then I will not want to live in substandard houses like that. Zoning laws for single family homes and residential buildings are actually really weak compared to other building type zoning regulations. You say this, but like the argument is so fucking stupid. Oh, it's actually like, how have capitalists fed you this idea that it's actually the regulations that are causing people to go and build like insane fucking luxury condominiums rather than affordable housing whenever there's an opportunity to build something? NIMBY's no.
Well, the reason, so I can explain that. The reason why is because if you're only going to zone for so many houses and you're not going to zone for a fuck ton of houses, there's always going to be more people coming in than the housing stock available. So you're always going to want to build the most expensive housing, because why the fuck wouldn't you, right? If 1 million people are trying to get into your city and you're only going to zone for 50,000 more households, well, fuck it. I'm going to fucking zone the high. I'm going to build the highest, the most expensive fucking units that I can, of course. And this is also why you see people will like, if you like go really strict with rent control onto like apartments and shit, then people are like, okay, fuck that. I'm converting this into a condo and I'm fucking selling it, because there's so many people that want to move here. I can sell this to somebody that wants to move here. Fuck you. I don't need to like do this shit, right? That's what happens, you know.
Wants affordable house in their neighborhood, driving their house price down. So that's one fucking problem. NIMBYs have an issue, but NIMBY ranges from everything from like people that don't want affordable housing in their neighborhoods all the way to people that don't want a fucking like oil fracking well behind their goddamn house. NIMBY means not in my backyard. So people that fucking cry about zoning regulations still refuse to acknowledge the problem with vacant houses. If there are 6 vacant houses for every homeless person in the fucking country, then why the fuck are we not trying to tackle the issue of vacant houses? Why?
Because the vacant houses aren't in places where these people want to leave. The vacant houses are scattered across the country. It's not just a ton of vacant housing in like nice cities or whatever, right?
Right? Because just like property value will decrease if the market is oversaturated with affordable houses, the same issue remains if there is government housing or public housing.
Student debt.
When I talk to young people, a lot of times they are trying to pay their rent versus their grocery, or they're trying to pay their student loans.
Single-family zoning, pervasive across much of the U.S., limits the number of units that can be built on a plot of land, making it difficult for families to afford certain communities.
Single-family zoning has really been a barrier for lower and moderate income people to be able to live in particular neighborhoods, because single-family zoning bans any type of home being built or any type of multifamily home or any type of detached home from being built, which is a huge barrier to people who are just trying to start off.
But that may be starting to change. In 2019, Oregon became the first state to pass legislation banning single-family zoning in most of the state. Around the same time, Minneapolis became the first big American city to end the practice.
So one of the major impediments to our shortage of housing, in addition to the land economics and the supply chain, is that we have a lot of communities in this country.
Damn, sounds like single-family zoning regulations should be removed. Damn, sounds like motherfuckers in a leftist community are watching a CNBC broadcast about single-family zoning regulations and taking it hook, line, and sinker when there are multiple different ways of eliminating this problem.
Wait, what? No, hold on. Lefties and righties can all come together and agree that single-family housing zoning is fucking AIDS cancer. There's no reason to fight about that. No matter who you are, you can be the most left person, the most right person. Single-family housing zoning regulations are garbage. That's AIDS. That's trash. That's fucking garbage. Fuck single-family housing. Move that shit out to move that to the fucking Midwest. Get them the fuck away from the cities. Fuck you.
Almost feels like you guys are a bunch of goddamn suckers who literally turn like this on a moment's notice. Most people that hyper-focus, the reason why I get mad at this is because people hyper-focus on the housing supply over and over and over.
Well, because the housing supply is the most important thing, right? It's the supply of it's the number of houses available for people to buy. It's going to determine price. It's going to determine availability. Like,
again, buying a house, like, we have no way of knowing you'll pay back this loan for $1,000 a month. I've been paying my landlord $1,500 a month. Why can't you save up $40,000 as a down payment to prove us? Because I've been paying landlord $1,500.
These types of comments are always so stupid. I don't care what you pay in rent. It's whether, like, if you stop paying your rent and you can't afford it, then you get kicked out because you're on like a 1-year lease. But if you can't afford your house, well, now another entity is on the hook for you. Like, I guess they're just like, these are just meme comments, but they're always so stupid. Ugh.
Remember to hit that like and subscribe, and don't forget the notification bell so that my videos show up right in your feed.
You can get the fuck out of my stream. Never come back. No one loves you.